In 2010, Nissan launched the Leaf, a 5-door hatchback that put it at the forefront of the electric motor market. Since then, they've sold 275,000, making it the best-selling electric car of all time. But the question is, with so much new competition, 6 years on, is this thing still top of the game? We've also done a second video, which is living with an electric car, so remember to check that out. But let's get this on the road. This Leaf has got the 30 kilowatt battery and is in Tekna mode, so it costs a little over £30,000 and isn't quite top of the range. So it's a good test really for what people will look for the amount of equipment and value for money. Range wise, when it's fully loaded with juice, should be around 110 miles, which is more than enough really for your daily commute, and even just for a few days to keep the car going and then top up when you've got the chance to do it. There's 3 ways to charge the Leaf. The first is by using a domestic socket. There's a lead provided with the car that will plug into a household socket. The second way is using a low voltage charging station at an airport or a filling station services, things like that, or at your local shopping centre. And then the third way is the high voltage rapid charging. Now the rapid charging is meant to take between 20 minutes and an hour to charge, up to about 80%. The guideline's 40 minutes for an 80% charge, while the domestic socket can take anywhere between 4 hours and 12 hours. And my personal experience, it's the latter. If you want to see what it's like living with the Leaf and how much you need to consider these charges, then check out our Living with an Electric Car video. The satellite navigation system has got the ability to search for charging stations, and you can do that whether it's just a normal charging station or whether it's a rapid charge. Car Wings, which is a function that Nissan provides in this car, is an app where you can track your car's progress, how much charge it's got, how much range it's got, rather than having to come out to the car. It's also worth considering that you may need to open an account with an electric charging company so that when you turn up to the charging points when you're not at home, that you have access to it, and whether you need to preload money onto those charging cards or pay at the charging point will certainly differ from each provider, but again worth looking into and planning ahead. The car itself encourages you to drive sensibly through encouragement and also enforcement. So on the dash I've got a little tree that tells me how efficiently I'm driving. If you can see the whole tree, thumbs up, you're saving power. If not, then you're probably driving a little bit too energetically for an electric car and your range is going to plummet. What it also does is has a very spongy accelerator, so you'll press the accelerator and very little happens. That's really to encourage you not to accelerate hard. If you do want to accelerate hard, then you need to get the pedal well into the carpet, as there's an override button within the accelerator which will then give you everything it's got. There's also a couple of additional modes. There's an eco mode that makes the accelerator feel like you're walking through treacle, and then on the drive select system you've got the automatic mode in drive. There's also a B mode which again really deadens the acceleration response. In B mode you can really feel that regeneration slowing the car down. The Hyundai Ioniq's got a similar system which you can control by paddles, and that's got 3 settings, which is actually very, very impressive. This one's just got the 1 setting, but still you can feel it working, and are quietly confident that it's recharging the battery for you. The instruments themselves have got battery charge, my range. It also features what power I'm using, which is a series of dots, and then that additionally shows where I'm regenerating my power and recharging the batteries myself. And that happens 2 ways, either through me braking or using the regeneration that's installed into this car when I come off the accelerator, cruising up to roundabouts, etc. And that really helps with engine braking, so you get a lot more control of the car as well, rather than at free running. In B mode on the automatic transmission, that is enhanced and will actually generate or regenerate even more power for you. It's actually advised to drive this car with the heating system turned off, because that uses more battery reserve than using the heated seats and heated steering wheel to warm yourself up. The problem is, if it's a day like today, which is a bit murky and miserable, and it's 7 degrees, you'll find that within just a few minutes the windows start to steam up by doing that. So I think that's going to be more relevant when it's 14, 15 degrees and you've got less chance of steaming, but in these wintry conditions it's a little bit more difficult to achieve. You can, however, preset the car to cool and warm before you get in, so then it's at your ideal temperature before you set off. You can also program it to charge, so you can put a timer on, so it's already refreshed for when you want to set off in the morning. The Leaf is a pretty easy car to drive. There's one gear to go forward, one gear to go backwards, so no worrying about changing gears. Also, it's got a light steering setup, so it feels pretty easy. Because of those electric motors, it's super quiet, and there's a comfortable ride. So it's the yoga of cars, if there were to be one. Just sit back and relax and let it just drift along in silence and peace. Downside to all that comfort is too much roll through the corners. The whole car's not set up to be energetic, to be particularly entertaining. The seats are very comfortable. I've got a nice soft makeup for the seats, but they're actually quite supportive around the midriff as well. There's plenty of headroom. I've got loads of adjustment, pump lever for the seat height, and a rotary dial for the backrest. And there's lots of storage as well. So in the door I can fit a bottle. In the central cubby under the armrest there's lots of space as well, and in front of the gear lever a couple more cup holders and a storage tray for your mobile phone or whatnot. In the back, a couple of adults will get comfortable quite easily. There's decent headroom and good leg and knee room. There's a high transmission tunnel, so there's not going to be too many volunteering to sit in the middle, but the seats are soft, so you should be able to smooth away a nice long journey in there. It's also pretty practical around the back. There's a decent sized boot, although this has got a Bose sound system fitted, and that does take up some floor space. For me, the biggest rival for this is the Ioniq, which was launched in 2016, and the Ioniq actually has got a better drive than this. It's lower set, it's more traditional family hatchback, whereas this is a little bit more bubbly, and it benefits from that with a lower centre of gravity and certainly holds the road very, very well. It's also newer, so it feels a little bit more fresher inside. Not that this is feeling particularly dated, but the Ioniq, for me, certainly takes it on a level. Driving the Leaf is very easy, very normal really. Living with it's very different. You need to certainly plan ahead that you've got the infrastructure in place to support the Leaf and how it needs to be recharged. So at home, do you have a garage with a nearby plug socket, or have you got a wall charging point that you've installed ready for the Leaf? Equally, you may want it at work instead, so charging points at work. And is there enough time to get enough battery power into the Leaf? On a launch recently, one of the journalists turned up 3 hours late because she was in a Leaf and ran out of power twice. So it's certainly something that needs to be considered, and you need to plan ahead. And as we learnt in our living with an electric car, it's not as simple as just jumping in it and figuring it out. It's not difficult to see why the Nissan Leaf has been so popular. It's new technology in a simple, easy to use family 5-door hatchback package. It's got a comfortable ride, it's spacious and it's practical. It's not the most dynamic, and a Hyundai Ioniq's probably better for you if you wanted better drive. But this has certainly got a lure to it. Make sure you've got the infrastructure set up so that you can get it charged and that you plan ahead when doing journeys. Check out our Living with an Electric Car video, and if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.